When Lewis Hamilton asked over the radio if Riccardo Adami was angry with him, it wasn't a throwaway line. It was the voice of a driver who feels, deep in his gut and through the telemetry, that something is wrong inside the most famous cockpit in the world. Radio silence in critical moments, vague instructions, cold responses, these aren't signs of a relationship still building. They are coded messages, and Hamilton knows how to read them. This isn't about adapting to a new team, it's about trust. When your engineer leaves you hanging mid-battle, the damage is psychological. In F1, psychology is performance. Mercedes understood this. Bono was Hamilton's second brain. Now, Adami's voice feels more like a warning than guidance. If Ferrari thinks time will heal this, they're deluded. Every race without cohesion is another nail in the coffin of Hamilton's 8th title hopes. The silence screams louder with each lap. For 11 seasons, Bono wasn't just an engineer. He was Hamilton's other half on the radio, anticipating his needs, reading the unseen in his voice, knowing when to push and when to calm. Now, in the tense theatre of Ferrari, Riccardo Adami is no such partner. Worse, he radiates tension. Every clipped reply or deafening silence says more than words ever could. When Hamilton asked if Adami was upset, the mask slipped. This isn't a relationship under construction, it's a fracture, widening with each race. Ferrari's official line, "It will take time," is an excuse, not a solution. The paddock knows, in F1, time is ruthless. It exposes weakness. And right now, the weakest link in Hamilton's bid for redemption in red isn't his driving nor the car. It's the man behind the radio button. The contrast to Bono is brutal. From trusted ally to uncertain voice, no champion can thrive in such a void. Monaco, the track where precision is king and hesitation is a death sentence. Lap 32, the race was hanging by milliseconds. Hamilton, eyes sharp, asked for the delta needed to attack. What came next? Silence. 3 corners later, a delayed, muddled response. The damage was already done. The telemetry tells a story few dare to read, a subtle shift in Hamilton's line, the micro-hesitation of a driver second-guessing his strategy. In Monaco, a 10th lost is a position gone. This wasn't driver error, it was a fracture in trust, one that seeps into every braking point, every gear change. While Verstappen has an engineer who feeds his hunger lap after lap, Hamilton is left questioning if his own pit wall is even in the fight. Radio silence isn't just poor communication, it's psychological sabotage. And in the crucible of Monaco, it screamed volumes. Ferrari can spin it however they want. The data betrays the truth. Juan Pablo Montoya didn't mince words. When he said Hamilton should demand a new engineer, the paddock shuddered because, deep down, many know he's right. Ferrari clings to the narrative of time will heal, but time in F1 is a weapon. Each GP that passes with a fractured driver-engineer relationship buries Hamilton's title hopes deeper. Montoya knows the game. In his words, an engineer who goes silent on the radio isn't fit to support a champion. Verstappen and Lambiase spar on the airwaves, but beneath the fire is respect. Responses come fast, clear, and direct. Not answering? That's poison for a driver. Ferrari management insists there's no issue, but behind closed doors, the whispers grow louder. Adami isn't just struggling, he's a political figure in a team where Hamilton remains the outsider. If Vasseur won't act, Hamilton must. Waiting is not an option. F1 is brutal, and the silence on the radio is costing him blood. Ferrari isn't Mercedes. In Maranello, the race engineer isn't just a technical voice, he's a political gatekeeper. Adami isn't neutral, he's seen as one of Vasseur's loyalists, a man embedded in Ferrari's old guard. Sources inside the paddock whisper of briefing rooms where Adami avoids eye contact with Hamilton, of cold, transactional interactions that bleed into race day. And that's the real danger. It's not about technical skill, it's about trust. Hamilton walked into Ferrari knowing he'd face cultural resistance, but even he didn't expect the walls to rise this fast. In F1, legacy matters, and in Ferrari's DNA, protecting their own often trumps embracing change. The result? A subtle, systemic pushback against Hamilton's presence. When the engineer is meant to be your lifeline, and instead becomes a symbol of internal resistance, the battle is no longer just on track. It's a war inside the garage. And right now, Lewis is fighting it alone. No one expects an engineer to openly sabotage a 7-time world champion. But in F1, the most dangerous sabotage is passive. It happens in subtle delays, in off-tone responses, in the moments when a driver's trust is quietly eroded. Hamilton's situation is textbook. Radio delays at critical moments, strategy calls that lack clarity, information delivered too late to act. To the casual viewer, it looks like normal race noise. But to a driver wired for perfection, it's death by 1,000 cuts. The telemetry shows the effects, slight hesitations in Hamilton's inputs, fractions of a second where confidence fades. Verstappen gets rapid-fire responses, Hamilton gets a void. In F1, trust is worth tenths. Tenths are worth podiums. Without it, even the greatest can be made mortal. And here's the brutal truth Ferrari won't admit. If Hamilton doubts his engineer, the entire project is doomed. This isn't adaptation, it's a cold war, fought in silence. Now comes the moment of truth. Hamilton faces a brutal choice. Demand a new engineer and risk detonating political fault lines within Ferrari, or stay silent and risk sabotaging his own legacy. Both paths are dangerous. Ferrari's leadership is watching closely. For them, removing Adami would be seen as ceding control to Hamilton, something the Scuderia's culture instinctively resists. But if Hamilton does nothing, the fractures will widen. He knows this. He's played this game before. At Mercedes, he built an empire of trust. At Ferrari, he's a lone warrior behind enemy lines. Each race that passes without action chips away at his momentum. Time is not on his side, nor is loyalty from within. The question isn't if Hamilton should demand change, it's when. Wait too long, and the 8th title slips away. Act now, and he risks tearing the fragile Ferrari alliance apart. It's the hardest decision of his career, and it must be made soon. In F1, the driver-engineer bond must be a fortress. Right now, for Hamilton at Ferrari, it's a house of cards. And here lies the deeper question. Who's really in control? If Ferrari refuses to act, they're sending a message. Preserving internal politics matters more than maximizing the potential of a living legend. That should terrify every fan who dreams of seeing Hamilton claim his historic 8th title. In this game of whispers and coded messages, Hamilton's destiny is being shaped not by raw speed, but by trust, or the lack of it. The pit wall's silence has already spoken volumes. Now, it's Lewis' move. Will he force a reckoning or let the old guard dictate his fate? The clock is ticking. Every lap, every missed cue, every cold radio call, they add up. And we must ask, how long before Hamilton stops driving for Ferrari and starts fighting it from within? If you believe this story is bigger than they want you to know, stay with us. The real battle has just begun. What happens next could define not only this season, but Hamilton's entire Ferrari chapter. Behind closed doors, the pressure is mounting. Sources say quiet conversations are already happening in Maranello. Hamilton's inner circle is weighing options, but will the team listen, or will they double down protecting Adami at all costs? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The outcome won't be decided on pure performance alone. Politics will play a role, and that's why you must watch every race, every radio message, every post-race interview with new eyes. This story isn't over. In fact, it's only getting darker. If you believe Hamilton deserves the full truth, not a sanitized corporate narrative, this is your place. Subscribe, comment, share. Let's build a community that reads between the lines, because in F1, what's not said often matters most. And right now, Ferrari's silence is deafening.